Brandy and I met about 30 years ago, been married for 27 years. Prior to having children, we owned a furniture import company. We lived a pretty carefree life, really enjoyed various things, traveled and had a wonderful time, but it was only probably 2 years into our marriage when we started having children. We have 3 lovely young men, Cole, Kyle, and Brett.
Cole was a wonderful baby, happy, busy, like most baby boys, you know. He was 2 when Kyle was born. They're exactly 2 years apart, both June babies. So at 2 years old, Kyle is still not talking. That's when my pediatrician recommends that I reach out to early childhood intervention. When ECI came in, they diagnosed him on the autism spectrum.
I knew we had developmental issues, but never in my wildest dreams did I think it would be to that magnitude. And we were told that he would have to be institutionalized, that he would never go to a public school, that he'd have to probably live with us for his entire life. But Brandy would not be denied from the start. I mean, from the very beginning, she said, "Oh no, that's not going to happen. My boy's going to go to college."
So my attitude was to treat the symptoms, right? Okay, we have a diagnosis. Ooh, how do we treat it? So that's where we started. When Casey, our case manager from ECI, first came in here, the very first question she asked me was, "How does he ask you for something to drink?" And I had one of those aha moments because he didn't ask for anything. I just put it on the table and he breezed by to get it when he wanted to. Well, from that day forward, I never put a thing on the table again. He had to give me some sort of sign. This is when we introduced sign language, taught Kyle sign language so that he'd know that language had power. And then we introduced pictures. We'd take pictures of things like your brother, your shoes, juice, milk, and he'd have to hand me a picture. He had to do something to receive something. And there were a lot of tantrums, a lot of crying. I knew that we had this small window of opportunity to capture and bring him through a window into this world because he wasn't with us. He was the busiest 2-year-old you ever met, 40 hours a week from the time he got up to the time he went to bed, he had to work. We ended up getting into the Westview school, but it wasn't just school. And he went 3 times a week to speech for 45-minute sessions, 3 times a week to occupational therapy for 45-minute sessions, and 2 times a week to physical therapy for 45-minute sessions.
Good job.
So once we exhausted our insurance on those, we paid personally.
I made it a mission to figure out how we would pay for it, not realizing how expensive that would be honest with you. And was very blessed that we had a wonderful family that said, "Whatever it takes, we're here for you and we will make it happen." And so from that point forward, great things started to happen, and we saw exponential gains in his overall motor skills and his ability to function in society.
3. I washed him in the wash.
I already had a son at the elementary school here in Katy, and without getting into a lot of detail, Kyle was the first child in Katy ISD to be enrolled into school using his outside testing and diagnosis and given accommodations. We couldn't have had a better transition.
It was a very important step in the journey because we wanted him to be around his peers, to be around the kind of kids he was going to grow up with, and to see if he had the ability to adjust. And then we felt like we would learn fairly quickly whether or not that would be the case.
He went from not talking to running for class president in the 5th grade, which he won. So he gave a speech. So here my child who would never go to public school, now in 5th grade runs for class president, gives a speech in front of a camera like this, and wins. So it was pretty fun.
So we continued to raise the bar and our expectations for all 3 boys, and these issues are just a setback.
Kyle played sports, played basketball in 7th grade, loved it.
It was the best feeling as his father because it was something we weren't sure he could really ever do, to be honest with you, when he was young. And he just gravitated toward it. He was so determined to be successful, to be a part of a team. You talk about rewarding now, that for me was very, very rewarding.
Kyle really enjoyed his high school experience, had a wonderful time. He was very well known for his big booming voice and his spirit. He had just a wonderful experience.
Kyle Wakefield, the most spirited Mustang we have. Congratulations, Kyle. Kyle, say hello to Mom and Dad. That's all you got.
High school overall, they were the best 4 years of my life. Being a flagman my senior year and getting nominated by the senior class to be on homecoming court, that was really cool. That was a big honor. That was a pretty big honor, and then winning Mr. Taylor High School, which is the prom king.
So during Kyle's senior year, COVID hits. The school district wasn't sure they were going to have a graduation ceremony for kids in KDISD. I was like, I have had a lot of work and blood, sweat, and tears into this child graduating from high school and going to college. We're having a ceremony. So I got a stage and rented chairs and spaced them 6 feet apart in rows. So it was just this amazing graduation for my one graduate.
Well, at that moment, it felt like it could have been an ultimate moment. We didn't know whether they'd have the ability still to go to college or not.
And so I'm like, do you want to be an auto mechanic? Do you want to be a plumber? They make a lot of money. I can't get a plumber here. And he's like, no, I want to go to college. Kyle got his acceptance letter maybe 2 months later.
And so, needless to say, he's hit the ground running.
College experience is great. Great people. Oxford's been so great to me, and working for a college basketball team, I wouldn't trade anything for the world.
He'd been in that same position of being one of the mop men right there on the floor, and so it's his job. Any time out, if there's sweat on the floor, it's his job to get out there and clean it up and get the game moving and moving forward. And so that particular moment, a fan had spilled a drink over on the out of bounds line, and so the referee had waved him over, and he came busting it out there with his mop and realized quickly he was going to get that up with a mop, the full drink. So he turned around and booked it back to grab a couple of towels and been busting back over and literally dove into it, started cleaning it, and the crowd's going wild and really excited about it. So then he came running back after getting it. He's waving his towel, and literally it was almost a standing ovation from 15,000 people. And
well, that's our Kyle. That's just how he attacks life. 120%, best job he could possibly do.
From that moment, it was on ESPN and the SEC Network, and even Major League Baseball on their network did a spot on him.
Being famous, son, it's a
you
lot. Get used to this now.
Hey, I just gotta put my head down and give it 110%, just like this Gatorade towel right here.
We got about 700 calls at the office yesterday, trying to get access to the man to my left. So, from an efficiency standpoint, we'll just put him here in front of you.
They had about a 15-minute press conference on Kyle's journey and how much he loves Ole Miss and how much he loves the team. And so, needless to say, he is very well known in Oxford.
I'm not in this for me. I'm here for this whole entire organization and the whole entire university.
And he handled himself so well, during the press conference. Spoke with clarity, with confidence. Looked like he'd been there 100 times, and it's the first time he'd ever been in that situation, and it was exciting.
Kyle will be graduating next year. I feel like there is no limit to what Kyle could do. Now, I don't know what it will be, but he has greatness in him. He always has, and I'm just excited to see what opportunities present themselves and what he wants to do.
There's so many different opportunities for him right now that have presented themselves that I'm open to whatever he's most comfortable with. We're going to support him in that and know that he's going to give it his all. He may fail, but he won't look back. He'll exercise damage control and move on to something else, and that's the great thing about Kyle, and we're proud of him.
There is no way he would be where he is today without that therapy. If it hadn't been for all that early intervention and all of that therapy to teach him that language had power, to then be able to make all of those steps forward, I don't think we would have pulled him into our world. I mean, he was not here. He was just living amongst us, not living with us.
I really just want to put out there that there is hope, there is a place for you. There's hope for kids that are just now getting their diagnosis. There is hope if you do the early interventions, if you do the occupational therapy, and it's really made a huge impact on my life, and I wouldn't be here without it.
But all of that had to be funded by us was the difference maker in Kyle's life.
We probably spent over those formative years of the equivalent of a college education to get him to where he is today.
So for Imagine a Way to be choosing families to help in this way, we're going to be watching them on CNN in 15 years.